Thankfully, it was not a credible threat at Adams City High School today. Students there spent hours on lockdown at the school in Commerce City after reports of a bomb threat and an active shooter. Hundreds of first responders rushed to that scene, along with parents waiting to reunite with their children. Our Evan Krugel is out there, and Evan, there is a lot that investigators say they still don't know about what went down today.
Yeah, Kyle, still so many questions about that call that led to that huge police response here this afternoon. That scene has now entirely cleared, but there were hundreds of officers out here earlier today. Here's what it looked like around 2 o'clock this afternoon after police were called here for reports of a bomb threat and potentially an active shooter. Roughly 200 officers from different agencies swept the school, which was placed on lockdown at the time. They did not find anyone injured and no weapons were found. Now, one thing that complicated this response was that police did find blood inside the school. However, they now believe that was from an entirely different situation, but you can imagine how and why that impacted the response here. Students say it was a frantic scene inside the school as parents waited here anxiously outside for more information.
Everyone just started like screaming, and then the intercom said like lockdown and go into class, and then like the security guard, he was like trying to shove people into rooms and stuff. But then like I heard like someone scream like school shooter, so I told him, I was like, nah, we gotta go. So like we went in the car and then we like left.
Now, police say no arrests have been made, and they're still trying to figure out where that original call came from, who made it, and why. Reporting live outside Adams City High School, Evan Krugel, 9 News for Next.
And Evan, these situations are always a swirl, right, of information and misinformation as people are just hungry to understand what happened, who's safe, and so forth, especially today.
And Kyle, there were hundreds of parents and students out here swirling rumors left and right throughout the afternoon. The school district ultimately put out a post essentially asking people to only seek information from verified, credible sources because of all those rumors that were swirling in a situation like this. Of course, most of those turned out not to be true, but parents were certainly quite anxious and upset out here as they waited for more information this afternoon.
Entirely understandable. Thank you for the update. Evan Krugel, thank you. Minutes ago, prosecutors in Jefferson County announced a break in the investigation into the death of Jax Graton. Her disappearance last April and the discovery of her body in Lakewood led to months of questions about what happened to her and whether investigators were doing enough to find out. Prosecutors are not bringing charges for Graton's killing. Instead, they're accusing somebody who was in a relationship with her of moving her body after her death. The Jeffco DA says Brandon Mumma is facing charges for tampering with a body and tampering with evidence. The indictment says that Graton and Mumma were in a relationship. Says Mumma left Graton alone and asleep under the influence of drugs inside an office building on West Colfax last April. The indictment accuses Mumma of moving her body, her phone, and other personal items to hide evidence. Police eventually found Graton's body in an alleyway in Lakewood weeks later. The autopsy says it found meth and marijuana in her system, but it was impossible to determine how Graton died because of the state of her body when it was found. The autopsy said that Graton, or her body, fell, jumped, or was pushed out a second-story window. Police arrested Mumma in Summit County yesterday. So the plan by Denver's mayor to replace controversial flock surveillance cameras with a new operator, Axon, is being delayed. The vote by city council has been put off for a week. And there's questions about whether Denver can easily unflock its camera system. Our Spencer Soisher's been looking into issues in other cities with getting flock off.
Yeah, unlike Axon, Flock has a leasing model, so the cameras are Flock's property, even though they're on city poles and signals. Flock has told Denver that it has the ability to decommission the cameras electronically, a button that says decommission. But some city council members want to put some sort of hood or a cap on the cameras. And recent history, like super recent, shows there's a good reason for that. That's not going to be a doggy bag on a pole. That's a Flock camera in a trash bag in Verona, Wisconsin. The mayor there told me today their city council voted to get rid of Flock too. The contract expired at the end of last year, and their police department repeatedly asked Flock to remove the cameras. They didn't. They kept asking, no dice, for 2 months. So about a month ago, they were done waiting and took out the trash bags and black tape and made sure those cameras were not collecting any more data. And city council members in Denver say Flock saying they will turn off the cameras versus actually removing them is important.
It's pretty clear that they're being monitored. So, they weren't responding to requests from the Vermont Police Department, but as soon as they were covered and they weren't working, then Flock came and took them down.
So you think that they were still up and running at the time?
Oh, they absolutely.
Flock screams, says decom, gives me no confidence at all.
And we need a timeline for removal, potentially hoods on those cameras the minute that contract ends.
In Evanston, Illinois, they got rid of Flock early, and the mayor there said the company removed cameras only to tell the local paper that Flock then reinstalled them. The Evanston Roundtable reported that city issued a cease and desist, and Flock responded saying the city was still under contract with them. A DPD commander said today it's going to work with Flock to get the cameras removed as soon as the contract ends. But Flock told us today DPD has requested that no cameras be taken down before the contract ends on the last day of this month, Kyle.
In a way, Spencer, it is sweet that they just enjoy watching us that much. Spencer Soysher, thank you. ICE says the agents accused of leaving behind so-called death cards when they detained people in Colorado, those agents are no longer in the field. The situation was condemned by Democrats in Colorado's congressional delegation, who say it's one of the reasons that they have voted to hold up funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Back in January, immigration advocates said that ICE had left behind these Ace of Spades cards after detaining men during traffic stops in Eagle County. Their families found the cards when they went to pick up their vehicles. The cards are similar to the Ace of Spades cards that U.S. soldiers would leave behind on bodies during the Vietnam War. The cards left in Eagle County prominently include the address of the ICE detention facility in Aurora. The Department of Homeland Security said it condemned the cards and would investigate, and today in federal court, top leader in the Denver office would only say that those officers involved are no longer out in the field. Democratic legislators say they're still waiting for an official update on this investigation. They want to hear directly from outgoing Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on this before she leaves the job at the end of the month. Your weekly Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns have done all kinds of good all over Colorado in the last 300 weeks. Tonight, a first-of-its-kind microgiving campaign for us to support the wildlife in this beautiful state. This week, our donations support two wonderful nonprofits that help injured animals and birds in Colorado. Greenwood Wildlife Rehabilitation Center is the largest wildlife rehabilitation center on the Front Range. They take in wild birds and small mammals that are injured, usually when their paths cross with humans. Thousands of animals come through Greenwood each year. They're nursed to health and returned to the wild. Then there is Rocky Mountain Raptor Program. They're based in northern Colorado. They work to save the lives of hawks and eagles, owls, and other raptors, hundreds of them each year, often when they tangle with vehicles or utility lines or other energy operations. Most of those treated raptors are then returned to the wild in Colorado. Some join Rocky Mountain Raptors program of conservation education. They go around and teach tens of thousands of Coloradans each year to give them an up-close appreciation of some of our state's beautiful wildlife. Here's how this is going to work. Both of these organizations are a bit smaller than most of the organizations that we featured, so every dollar that we raise is going to be split 50-50 between the two of them. How about that? How about two at once? Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to donate. You have proven that even $5 helps. Your microgivings raised almost $18 million that way. You know the deal. I'm never going to ask you to give a loan, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us rolling. And 7,500 of you have built Word of Thanks into a force for good by making a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info one time, pick an amount every month. It's split automatically among all the nonprofits we feature. And lately, that has been adding almost $50,000 to each weekly campaign. Governor Polis hits pause on the clemency process for Tina Peters. It is a delay that may not last long. And Denver Health is recruiting future female surgeons. Years ahead of the day they'll step into an operating room.
All these girls, all these women can make it. They just need to see it to know they can do it.
They can do it, and we'll show you how they are learning that they can. Next. Every Democrat in the Colorado State Legislature is asking Democratic Governor Jared Polis to not give clemency to Tina Peters. Now, I should say, there is no sign that Governor Polis cares at all what his fellow Democrats think. But there is apparently a delay in Polis's clamor to turn Tina Peters loose. Our Marshall Zellinger explains.
All 66 Democrats in the state legislature sent Democratic Governor Jared Polis this letter telling him to back off clemency for Tina Peters. The former Republican Mesa County clerk is serving a 9-year sentence for her role in allowing unauthorized access to her election equipment in an attempt to uncover election fraud. The 66 Democrats cite support for county clerks. They push back against election conspiracy theorists, and they point out the Colorado Court of Appeals is still considering whether Peter's sentence is too long. We urge you to allow that process to advance and for the judicial system alone to handle review of any further actions in this case. That appeal was heard in January, and as of today, it's not known when the court will issue its order. But Democrats at the state capitol confirm with Next they have been told by Polis's staff he's waiting for judges to rule on Peter's appeal.
Did he learn from our case? Boy, that's optimistic. I think it's more a case that it politically benefits him better now.
In 2021, Dwayne Bailey asked Polis to hold off on a clemency decision until a court could decide a resentencing request.
The governor stepped in before the judge had a chance to finish his ruling.
Bailey's brother Bill was one of 4 people killed in 2019 when Rohel Aguilera Medeiros crashed his semi-truck into stopped traffic on I-70 in Jefferson County. Aguilera Medeiros was sentenced to 110 years in prison. Then prosecutors immediately asked the judge for a resentencing hearing to reduce the sentence to 20 to 30 years. Even family members of those killed agreed 110 years was too much, and they told Polis they wanted the judge to come up with the new number.
Why are you bypassing the court system? Why is it not the right thing to wait until the hearing?
Polis did not wait 2 weeks for that hearing and commuted the sentence to 10 years. Aguilera Medeiros has a parole hearing in September and could be out in December.
Him being in prison is not going to bring my brother back. And at this point, if he shows genuine remorse at his hearing, I would be okay with him getting out.
The question remains, will Peters show genuine remorse or just enough to satisfy Polis? For Next, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
So an odd bit of this debate over clemency for Tina Peters is her supporters pointing to the Rohel Aguilera Medeiros clemency as an example of Polis using bad judgment and therefore demanding that he give Tina Peters clemency. But it is interesting to see if Polis is going to again assert his judgment ahead of an expected court decision. Governor spokesperson wouldn't tell us if he's going to wait on the Court of Appeals to act. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, all day long I have been asking myself one question. Is the weather tomorrow going to impact me?
It is going to impact you. In fact, Kyle, you know your trash bins, you know what they might be doing tomorrow?
Oh no. A couple houses to the east?
They might be going like this, going all around, right?
Yep.
Those trash bins, seriously, patio furniture, things like that. If you're watching me from Boulder, from Fort Collins, from the foothills, it's going to be a rough go tomorrow. And it's a long-lived wind event for us here along the Front Range. 90 to 100 mile an hour peak wind gusts in the foothills. That'll be mainly above 7,000 feet. Boulder, Fort Collins, the foothills just west of Denver, likely talking 60 to 80 mile an hour peak gusts. That also means high fire danger, eastern plains as well, and in Denver, 40 to 50 mile an hour peak winds. We do have that high wind warning for us here in the foothills and in the kind of foothills just west of Denver. Still some question how much of that wind is going to mix down to the Highway 93 corridor and Boulder, but still high wind watch in yellow, high wind warning, which is a higher caliber in place for northern Colorado and the mountains. Winds will pick up tonight. You'll notice that wind above 7,000 feet. So Boulder, Highway 93, you may have to wait until tomorrow to see those strongest winds, but those winds will reach us here. And in Denver, those winds will be strongest between 12 and 7 p.m. tomorrow with 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, especially west of I-25. And then more wind again for us on Saturday. Whoop-dee, I know. And then next week, those temperatures will drop into the 40s with some snow likely Sunday morning, and then we spike up to 80 degrees next Wednesday. The winter that hasn't been continues next week.
Denver Health is out searching for future surgeons in middle school classrooms. A new partnership gives girls insight into a male-dominated field. Next. All right. Picture a surgeon. Be honest, did you picture a man? If you did, I mean, you're in line with statistics. Female surgeons are underrepresented in every specialty. To work on fixing that, our Angeline McCall looks at a new partnership between an all-girls charter school and Denver Health.
A surgical ward isn't your typical classroom.
Start moving your fingers. It should start to activate.
6th grader Anastasia Simmons.
It's so cool.
And a small group of students from the Girls Athletic Leadership School come to Denver Health once a week.
So whatever hand you are, right or left, you're going to put the needle into that hand.
Surgeons are showing these middle schoolers specialties where women are underrepresented.
So orthopedics is the worst, right around 7%.
Dr. Jessica Churchill knows she's always outnumbered.
I almost got talked out of it a lot of times because I didn't see female orthopedists.
Early exposure with female students.
She's gonna wrap it around.
Could mean lessening the gap.
The earlier we can show them it's an opportunity, then you can just let their natural creativity and their natural curiosities take them.
Through this elective, some have already learned their natural talents.
We can definitely become surgeons if we put this on our resume.
Today's lesson, suturing and using a Da Vinci robot to practice surgery.
It is really fun. It's like a very unique experience to be able to use your fingers to like pick things up in such a precise way and be able to move them. It's so cool.
It will actually remember where it was.
Seeing female surgeons means seeing themselves.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. It really puts like a perspective on how many boys there are doing medical and how many girls they are, and how sometimes girls can be better than boys.
All the girls here applied to be a part of this.
I know that women can sometimes get cut out of opportunities, and it makes me feel like I can definitely do it.
The partnership is new with the all-girls school, and something Executive Director Timmery Talnay knew they couldn't pass up.
This is our mission at GALS, right? Is to teach our students at an age where they're growing and changing, that they are here, that they're loud and proud and here to take up space in the world.
A new classroom, some of the students might one day call their workplace.
You guys will all be surgeons, I bet.
But first, they need to see the women doing it today to envision themselves working in the same place tomorrow.
All these girls, all these women can make it. They just need to see it to know they can do it.
General surgery is where we see the most women, and still that number, Kyle, is just 25%, still vastly underrepresented.
Wow, really interesting. Angela McCall, thank you. Back with your feedback next. 301 weeks into your relentless micro-giving generosity. This week is our first campaign ever targeted just at supporting Colorado's wildlife. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to join me in giving. Every dollar that we raise will be split between the Greenwood Wildlife Rehabilitation Center and the Rocky Mountain Raptor Program. They both help save the lives of animals and help educate Coloradans about the wild world around us and how we can best live with the beautiful animals who were here first. This via text. Thanks so much for supporting Greenwood and the Raptor organization we've been giving for years now to the monthly campaign. Thank you so much. My question is, why couldn't we give all of it to Greenwood this week and then all to the Raptors next week? Why does the animal campaign have to be split? That is a very fair question. So, a couple of reasons why we're doing this. There's only 52 weeks in a year. There's more than 52 wonderful nonprofits in Colorado that we could feature every year. The split campaigns allow us to reach more organizations with your generosity. Another factor. You all are being way more generous as a community than you were 3 or 5 years ago. Your campaigns in 2025 average more than $50,000 raised a week. So what that means is when we raise for smaller organizations, we might bring 2 of them together. As always, if folks are moved to give more to any organization that we feature, I encourage you to do that. Carolyn says, appreciate your probing, objective, tongue-in-cheek reports on issues. I'll be following you wherever you go unless you and Marshall become air traffic controllers. It was me and Mark that were going to become air traffic controllers. I don't know what Marshall wants to do next. We'll ask him next time.